School, Global Atlantic Financial Group, and Pittsburgh Life with Dave Wolf. Now, let's join Inside Sports Talk Radio.
And good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Inside Sports Talk Radio. Well, Lord Myson there, forgive me. Good afternoon to one and all. Good afternoon to our listeners. It's January 27th, 2020 already, and things are up and running.
But New Year's Eve to 2021. But that much closer.
Well, that much closer.
Yeah. 1 month's going already, man.
I know, you're right, man. Jeez, man. Well, as you know, the sporting world was shocked yesterday with the passing of Kobe Bryant in the helicopter as he was off to a basketball game. Him and his daughter making their way to a game that he coaches, a team. And sad news caught a lot of people by surprise. I mean, I shouldn't say caught by surprise. People were shocked.
Yeah. Watched a bit of it on CNN last night. People gathering at the Staples Center. Although there was another event going on there, many were then changed the whole focus on what that night was going to be about initially to remembering someone who has made a name for himself and for his country around the world.
Yeah. Couldn't have said that any better. I think you and I had discussing just prior to coming on here that, Michael Jordan is number one, but globally we think that Kobe is number one over Jordan. And I say it to say, yes, he knows 5 languages. Yes, he was born in Italy. Yes, he supported Barcelona. Yeah. His first club was AC Milan because of Italy. That's natural. Right. But the fact is that he was globally known throughout the world. Yeah, it's amazing.
And not just as a basketball player, because he loved football.
Yeah, loved it.
But then moved on to something that I guess got his passion, got his drive, and that's something that he took off with. And was really developing himself into a business icon outside the sport, still utilizing his contacts and his reliability of being able to speak to anybody within the reach of the sport and those on the outside. It was a hard pill to swallow. Listening to the early interview with Meta World Peace. You could tell he was driving, but you could tell he was also very emotional in his when interviewed by CNN. And it took a lot of people, like you said, they were shocked. It's an unfortunate thing. Just the night before his scoring record was broken, and then matter of hours later, the passing. So you look at it, he was surpassed, but now he will be remembered forever.
Ever. Yeah. Well, I've had the opportunity to go to a few NBA games in my lifetime. Still go. Haven't been recently.
That's because your Lakers haven't been doing well.
Well, we won in 2010 under Kobe. Okay.
Yeah. What is this year?
2020.
Okay, just making sure. Just checking.
But I still support them.
One thing about your teams. When they don't win, don't win for a long time.
They don't. And you're right. But in numbers and in championships, we're number 2 in the NBA.
Oh yeah.
Behind Celtics one championship, I believe, just one. Yeah. So it's not bad, huh?
And if things go well after the tragic news yesterday, you might just I think that will give some inspiration to that team.
Yeah, they'll obviously say this season's for Kobe. That's a given. Yeah. But that said, I had the opportunity. My cousin Aaron Adley and I, we flew to LA in 1996 to see Kobe. And my cousin said, "Look, let's go to the game. We got to see this guy Kobe Bryant." And I was like, "Look, Michael Jordan's number one." He said, "Look, Ian, this guy's just coming out of high school. His can be off the chain." So I was like, yeah, all right, cool. I'll get the tickets. So fortunately, I knew some referees in the NBA. Louis Grillo, who was a referee for 21 years. Through my father, I was able, and my father and my mother, I was able to get to see games in the NBA. So we were 6 rows from courtside at the Staples Center, right? So we go to the game. I'm in awe, right? I see Shaq. I see Kobe.
Right.
I see Minnesota. He was playing for Minnesota Timberwolves then. Kevin Garnett. Right, and it just like blew me. I'm not gonna lie, it blew my mind because we went to see the Lakers and the Minnesota Timberwolves at that time, and then we prior to that we went to San Francisco to see the Dallas Cowboys and the 49ers. So we flew up to the West Coast, and so I will never forget that moment. Being that he won number 8.
Right.
So all said and done, I was thinking about Louis last night. So I said, let me put a call out to Louis this morning. Put a call out to Louis. He didn't return my calls. And about 45 minutes later, he returned my call. Louis said, I'm not doing no more interviews.
Right.
Now, he used to come to Bermuda secretly as an NBA with along other NBA referees. But in their contract, they were not allowed to do media interviews, even outside of the United States. So it was kept quiet, and he stayed at the Santa Princess Hotel, played his golf. Used to be like 10 to 12 of them a year. Come down, play golf, and be here for like a week or two.
Right.
So I put a call to Louis this morning, and I said, Louis, I'd like to do an interview. And he said, well, I'm not doing them anymore. I was like, well, Louis, look, what's up? He says, but for Bermuda, who kept me quiet, I will give it to you guys. So we had the opportunity to speak with Louis, and we had a soundbite of it in the news at 12 noon. And this is some more soundbite of it, speaking with Louis Grillo, who's been in the NBA for 21 years. He had an opportunity to coach a number of games with Kobe Bryant, and this is what his thoughts of Kobe Bryant when he was a former NBA player. Passing of Kobe yesterday in California. What was going through your mind when you heard the information and confirmation of it?
Well, I was stunned. My phone blew up. People were sending me texts and links and stuff like that. And then I heard it. I was watching Pebble Beach, not Pebble Beach. I was watching the Farmers Classic, and they announced it on CBS here in the States. It was stunning. And Kobe is the third loss in January. We lost David Stern first. We lost Roscoe Nance, USA Today reporter 2 weeks later, and 2 weeks later, Kobe Bryant. And Kobe was just an outstanding player, dad. It was tragic, and immediately they mentioned that Gianna was on the plane.
You had an opportunity to obviously talk to Kobe after games and in the off season. What sort of conversations you guys used to have back and forth?
Just actually talk about family, kids. It wasn't anything because we didn't. You didn't mingle after games.
Yeah, see how it drops goes up and down.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
I told you a month ago.
Life in general.
And then we still have
Right, definite. What does this mean, though? My final question is this: what does this mean for the fraternity, the NBA fraternity, to lose a man like Kobe Bryant at the age of 41?
I don't know. You gotta live life to the fullest. I think Dallas is already. I think Dallas said no one will ever wear 24 again. The Dallas Mavericks.
That's correct.
That's from Cuba. And maybe something similar will happen. Other teams or maybe throughout the league. He was a special talent. I just left the golf club, and I said, "What are your thoughts on Kobe?" He said, "He was 41. He played 20 years, and he's been retired 4. So he started when he was 17 or 18 in the NBA.
10 seconds.
Yep. Came right out of high school.
Came right out of high school. How about that?
That's right.
And he did what he did. It was just phenomenal. You had to do it every day, and you had to work hard."
Interesting enough, we could have went on with Louis, but he got emotional, and of course we have to edit that part out. He started to tear up, and it was hard for him. Right. It was hard, and back with Louis knowing Kobe, he had just joined the NBA in '88, and Kobe came out in '96. So they had built a relationship off the court as time went on, and like he said, he couldn't communicate regarding the game itself, but when they did chat, and then when they had the off season itself, yeah, they talked about family and things of that sort. And he was a good person, Louis Grillo, and what he thought of Kobe Bryant, even in his time when he was a referee. Because he used to tell me, makes you fly down, and what the players used to think and things of that sort. It's going to be sorely missed. Definitely sorely missed. It's interesting. Someone texted me last night saying that Kobe came to Bermuda. I said, I don't know if that.
I can't recall.
I couldn't confirm that at all.
I mean, maybe he has, and maybe he done the same thing like the referees and kept quiet.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's definitely. We'll be missed. We'll be missed for sure. So.
Definitely.
Well, joining us in the studio right now is Mr. Calvin Blankendow, the big man at the Radio Cricket Board. I forget his title because I don't have my phone open right now, so Calvin Blankendow can help me out here. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Blankendow.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rollins.
and gentlemen, Mr. Earl Basden, Bassett.
All is good?
Yes, all is good.
Good. I know this is the off season for cricket, and a lot of things have happened in the off season as you build up going forward for 2020. So what are the things looking like with only a few months behind the corner and cricket season be starting all over again?
First of all, there's no off season in any sport anymore.
Oh yes, you're right.
You just may not see the individuals on the field, but there's actually activity going on. Secondly, definitely, we have to be the cricket board, even though it's another sport. We definitely have to acknowledge the passing of the great Kobe Bryant, his family, his fans, the Lakers, and also the other persons that were, in the helicopter as well.
Yes, definitely.
Kobe's the big name, but I believe that all of the families are grieving at this moment. So from one sport to another, we say, send our condolences worldwide. Not only was he a great athlete, a leader, but an individual. And he stood up for what he believed in, but he was also approachable.
Definitely.
And he also showed that he went outside of his comfort zone, whether it was through his father playing in Europe, but also, looking at other sports and just not being the carbon copy box serial pro athlete that's I have money, have jewelry, have chains, have cars, and I party, and it's that easy for me, which he could have done.
Right.
But you don't play in any sport for 20 years if you don't take care of yourself and you don't respect yourself, the sport itself, the fans, and also your family structure. And for those who have gone before you and those that are coming behind you. So Kirby definitely a great man, and it was definitely a shock. I'm not into basketball, but I like reading articles, and I woke up seeing how LeBron James had surpassed him, that Kobe was there. And then, at a soccer match yesterday, you see something flicker by, but you're focusing on the game, and I'm thinking it's a hoax. And that's after that, you're like, no, it can't be true. That's like, it's almost like it's written in the stars that the torch should have been passed.
Right.
Not in this matter, but who decides when we are born and when we die. That's not in our hands.
But it's amazing how quickly information gets out, because I know the game you were talking about, the Barcelona game, and indication comes up that he's passed, and players on the field are giving him salutes during the game, kind of thing, so how quickly information goes from one place to another. Technology is amazing.
It's amazing
tool right now in the world, and pretty much even at the press conference yesterday, the authorities were saying, although there's a lot of rumors about who was on the helicopter, we don't want to make any assumptions, and we don't want to give out any names, because there's a lot of families that need to be notified and want to be, are grieving at this time. So they took that professional step, although it was rampant that Kobe and his daughter were on board. So,
that's true. I think TMZ were the first to break the story.
TMZ, yeah.
And after that was like a bowl of fire. I was at Gorham's yesterday, and my daughter hits me up in England, and she asks me, and I'm like, no. So I just said, let me look into it, but give me some time.
Right.
I had to drive to work, get some gas in the car, so I'm pulling out the gas station. So let me pull over. I had over 30 messages. I was like, okay, this is going to be one. And as I'm reading like 3 and 4, I said, okay, this is real. So I was doing some research, and the rest, we go from there. Sad thing. Sad thing indeed.
But on to cricket.
Yeah,
on to cricket.
It's a
new year.
Yeah, and obviously a new executive has been elected to the Bermuda Cricket Board. It's still early days, but what is the vibe been like since election night?
Yeah, well, let's get the elephant out of the room. Cricket's been challenged during the last few weeks through concerns about some financial management. At the end of the day, the member clubs, who are actually the guardians of cricket, they advise the executives on the matters on hand and the direction the cricket board should take. They had a vote on it, a democratic vote. Both parties presented their information at hand, and the clubs voted 6-4 in favor of the president to retain his post, but also, more importantly, that there was no mismanagement done by him. So that's a positive, not only for the president, but also for the Bermuda Cricket Board, because the light that's been shed of us, it wasn't positive. So in 2020. Early 2020, it's time for us to move ahead as one body and to continue the works of cricket for the Bermuda Cricket Board, but also for the youngsters, the national team, and the sport at large for the fans. It's early days, but I think what has come out of the AGM, and since those details were leaked, is that everyone wants to be unified. Everyone wants to work together. Everyone wants to do it for Bermuda and the players that are here now, and to keep the legacy of the sport going. And everyone recognizes that there just can't be one individual that has all the answers all the time, or even has all the power to do it. It's definitely a collective. So sometimes when it seems that things are down and out and things are going against you, you have to rebuild. And that's the best way to get a quick fix of a situation. You know, you can actually plaster and renovate, but sometimes you just knock it down and you build something that you really want. And that's where we are. So it's not a total rebuild, but definitely with the individuals that have come on board, I think we're going to move quickly. If you look at Mr. Arnold Mendes coming in as vice president, being a former coach, director of cricket, a stalwart in the community, he brings a lot of information. He has a lot of experience, but he has also a lot of concepts. And being a director of physical education of the Bermuda Education Board, it also helps us. It's going to help us expedite our get cricket back into mainstream school athletics. So that's one. And then we have Mr. Aaron Romain, who was part of that fantastic 2007 World Cup team as a captain. You know, former interim coach at the Bermuda Cricket Board, as another physical education teacher. So we're trying to get cricket played, even if it's in a limited format at the senior schools. He will help us with that. And he's also heavily involved in the East End at Bathurst Bay Cricket Club. So that ties that Eastern Conwy affiliation with the clubs in the East End, and his expertise and the respect he has amongst all cricketers, fans, players, and the general public. We had Mr. Andrew Griffith, who was the former Chief Financial Officer of Bermuda Aviation Services, BAS Group of Companies. He was the former Treasurer of the Bermuda Football Association, so he is there with the strategic plan, being able to receive at least $9 million out of the $15 million from the proposed funds from government, which we're very grateful for. So he's been there building that up. He has a lot of experience understanding what it takes to get sports teams to travel and to develop. And he is also a cricketer. So that's a business.
Listen.
Mr. Basin, I'm continuing.
Because you have clothes and you are part of the team, don't necessarily make you a cricketer, Mr. Griff.
Okay, I'm gonna
are you saying the 12th or 13th man?
Oh no! He makes sure that he's there early, and he fills up the form, so he puts his name down first.
Oh,
they haven't taken the forms away from him yet.
Now, Mr. Griffith, you are a cricketer, and he is also a cricketer for North Village, which is more known for football, but they play in the evening league, so hopefully we can get a better relationship with the evening league as well, bringing all of cricket together. That would be great to have some synergy there. And the other additional persons are Mr. Dennis Williams of Devonshire Recreation Club, stalwart in that community, so we get the Central Condies involved, so that would be excellent for that as well. So Dennis, Arnold Mendes, Ivan Romain, Andrew Griffith,
Peter Philpott,
and then Peter Philpott, who is already on the selection committee, high performance committee of the Bermuda Cricket Board. I believe he is also a level 3 coach. I stand to be corrected, so he has high pedigree and certification. And again, in this time, sometimes things just happen. Everyone's worrying about financial management. We have a Bermuda police officer on our executive director, so hopefully that will put some of this first to decide that we have someone that is actually charged with making sure that we're safe each and every day with high integrity and standards. And then of course the president, Mr. Lloyd Smith, who has a passion for cricket, he is there with a vision that everyone's looking to buy into, and we can take cricket forward.
There's been the one thing that I wanted to ask and forgot to ask him on: is the door still open for those who decided not to be a part of the executive? Is that door still open for them to be a part of cricket moving forward?
The door is always open, because cricket doesn't belong to any of the executive members or directors or the president or any of the office staff. It's a democratic organization, and once your name is put forward by any club to be elected, it's up to the members to elect you. And members could have been elected that night, but I understand it's the timing of it. But there, of course, are members or individuals that have decided to step aside that can offer a lot, and are still offering a lot. Some are not only executive, but they're still assisting in the academy, a youth academy of the Bermuda Cricket Board, and the development of the league. You don't need to be an executive member to be part of cricket.
Right.
That's a high profile, but cricket continues with coaching, education, coaching for the kids, camps, and it's the persons that you don't see that probably do more than some of the executive members on a day-to-day basis, but everyone adds value.
Right.
In 2020, this is already before all of these incidents came out. Cricket already had a vision for 2020 and beyond. Development plan was developed, which was approved by the ICC / development strategic plan. We're going to actually develop a separate strategic plan for the local community, so when we go to sponsors, it has some financial figures behind it. But some of the actions that we're looking to start in 2020 will be trying to see if we can get a permanent facility for the Bermuda Cricket Board. Without a permanent facility, yes, we're going to be challenged with training our senior men's national team in the off season, so that's prime. We're looking to host the Challenge League in 2021, so that would be a 16 tournament. We've done a bid in at the ICC, and hopefully we'll be successful. That will bring more revenue and more teams than we had in the last tournament to Bermuda. It will be a financial challenge, but again, it'll be a win-win for the island with all the coverage we get that may not be cricket related to expose the island to future tourists. Look to continue our relationships with Cricket West Indies. We had Mr. Jimmy Adams come in. We have Mr. Richard Barrett come in, done an analyst workshop. So our big brother in the Americas region, the only full test playing nation, we definitely have to stick close to them, and they can help advance our progress quickly. We can establish an MOU with teams either in the Americas region, in the West Indies region, and maybe even in the African region, because there are some relationships there already going on. And one thing we definitely need to do, if we can copy off the FIFA calendar, is have U17 and U15 teams start playing international cricket at an earlier age. U19's late to be competitive, so we definitely need to get them playing earlier. Can we get a annual or every other year U15 tournament in our region with USA, Cayman, Canada, Bahamas, and Bermuda? Why not? There is no tournament like that in the region. And improving cricket at schools at all levels. So that's very important as well. The more cricket that we play in schools, the more opportunities available, and then cricket will always be at the forefront. And one thing we're trying to copy, and it's nothing wrong with copying, so I'll put his name out there. Mr. Cranston Williams has done a remarkable job of getting so many young people to referee for the Bermuda Football Association and the Referees Association. We're trying to see if we can copy and mirror some of that to get a junior umpire program started. If we can get a junior umpire program started, we can start to reduce the age of umpires. It's not going to happen overnight, but if there's players or interested persons at the age of 14, 15, 16, learn the art of umpiring now and the rules and regulations, it would help them as a player, would help them as an individual with integrity and discipline, but also help us to get more umpires out over time, because you have to understand the game before you can umpire. And last but not least, ICC has a mandate to improve the playing of women's and girls cricket all around the world, just like how FIFA's done it with girls and women's soccer. So a larger portion of the funding is geared towards women's and girls cricket, so we have to actually get that back on the front page as well. And we're looking to have a few maybe niche fun events in 2020 with the emphasis to get interest and then develop that into U19, U15s, and hopefully over time a senior women's national team. So those are some of the projects that we're working on. And real quickly, we have our development plan. So one will be, we discuss having good governance, and we are going to be reviewed by the Bermuda National Standards Accreditation Certification Program. We already are BSNC certified, so that will be on board again. We were going to review all the bylaws, so these are programs that will come from 2020 to 2023, and all our financial policies, so it's a 4-year platform. High performance as well, looking at workshops, training, all about making sure our team's at the highest standard. The Cricket Committee, which is a domestic development program, making sure our domestic cricket leagues are robust so that we can actually have our players playing at a high level and according to ICC standards. We talked about cricket in schools and fun cricket for boys and girls and women, so we're looking to do that as well. And we have Ms. Ray-Jan Simons, who is on board as the marketing and communications person, so we see a lot more activity from us on that front, and of course making sure we have great administration through Ms. Samantha Robinson. So these are all the plans that were already approved and signed off and handed over to ICC according with our 2020 budget, which has been approved by ICC as well. And we've just completed our 4th quarter report for 2019. So according to the ICC standards, we are actually up to par with everything that's required.
We know that this year is is an important year for the senior men's team, because they have several commitments, and the more they play in these tournaments and advance, then obviously more commitments. But one thing you touched on was finding a place for these guys to train. That's got to be like on the forefront. How close or how far are we away from them being given a place where they can say we can go there on any given day, anytime, and be available to train?
We are close but far, and I'll say that it takes a little. It's going to take maybe a few individuals to come together and look at the long-term outcome for having the National Bermuda Cricket Board have its own training site. It's going to need a partnership between maybe two or three entities. But if you look at all the entities independently, they're not really, or we are not really advancing in silo, because either there's no funding, or there's no political will, or there's no need for someone to say, why should we develop this site, because it's not at the high end of sports in Bermuda. If you bring the Bermuda Cricket Board, which is high profile and international, if you bring the government with a mandate, and if you bring one of those other two partners that are either playing a sport or have a facility, it's a win-win. So hopefully in 2020, we're talking about unifying and networking and collaboration. If we all take out the big E, which is the ego, and say, you know what, I may have a site, you have the players, and we have the political will and some funding, it could be a great benefit. But we have to get rid of the E. Once we get rid of the E, I think we're really close, but we have to do that first. So hopefully in the next quarter we can move ahead.
Brigadier, you outlined a number of things regarding the way forward for the BCB. Hopefully your executive and your team, the respective teams, can get this all under the belt, I guess, from 2020 to 2023. Much is going to be on the horizon going forward. Is this added pressure for you and your teams to make sure the dots are dotted and T's, of course?
Yes, it's always a learning process about any issues or challenges that you face. Definitely means that we need to look at some of the profiles and setups of how we actually move ahead on discussion points, but that's an easy fix. I think it more or less take away the E out of the room, the ego. Everyone collaborates, everyone's patient. If you have an organization with 8 or 9 people, if everyone agrees to everything, that's not a good sign, because no one's reviewing. If someone says, hey, let's take a look at it, it doesn't mean that person's against your proposal. It just means that person has an interest, or saying, hey, let's be safe and double check to make sure what we're doing. I think once we, like I said, once we take the big E out of the room, we can move ahead. And out of that, I think sometimes you need to have some deficiencies. We see it in cybersecurity, or we see it in some other areas where a breach happens and someone says, hey, you know what, let's review the policy. But in our case, it wasn't a breach. At the end of the day, by the clubs, they indicated that there was no mismanagement, but it still means that we can tighten up so it doesn't even get to this point. And I think with the players in the room and the clubs who are the guardians, we'll be on a good way 2020 going forward.
Following the meeting, would you say that the clubs are in full support of Herbie Bascom? I mean, he's had a challenge with the national team. Things haven't gone his way or the team's way, but Herbie has a lot to offer. Have they shown in your meetings in the AGM that they're supporting which direction the senior men's team's going in, or do they have some doubts or some questions about the direction?
Well, to be honest, the position of head coach has not been brought up in any of the last meetings with the clubs, because we know that wasn't an agenda item. There were other things that were more pressing. In the general public, and maybe even by clubs, I'll be frank. For any sport, if you go into 10 races or 10 matches and you're not winning, someone will find and say, you know what, let's fire him. That's not the right person. Let's find someone else. But before you replace anyone, or before you say that someone's not doing a good job, you have to take a lot of factors into consideration. So this is Cal Blankendown saying that, as far as a country, no one really expected us to advance. We did advance, and then we went up from a level C to a level B. And then from a level B, we were trying to get to level A. It actually showed that, we were actually very good at the level C, but once we get to level B, there's a little bit more work to do. So we're actually 1 year ahead, because we're actually looking to qualify for the next T20, which is this year,
Right.
in this cycle, but we did it in last year. So for some people say, you know what, they're not really good, but actually we're a year ahead on schedule. What we need to do is qualify again to say, you know what, they are definitely good enough for C, but how can we actually compete at B?
And that comes with time.
And that's why there's a cycle. So for me, it's that this group will get us to 2023, and then the group that's coming behind us will take us forward. Just because this group advanced doesn't mean they're going to take us to the mountaintop. Mers has been, but never crossed it. But he had still was influential. Without Mers, we wouldn't got to the mountaintop. So this group here with Herbie Bascom, he's the coach right now. How long he stays the coach is up to Mr. Bascom and the selection committee and the other executive directors. But there will be a coach at one point that will come after Mr. Bascom, and hopefully he can build and look at Mr. Bascom's shoulders and stand on them and continue to take us forward. Forward doesn't always mean winning. There's so many other things, but we know in international sports, a W is a W and an L is an L.
Right.
So we need a quick win so that everyone moves on and says, hey, how can we help cricket instead of judging cricket?
Well, we want to thank you for your time, Mr. Blankendown. I know the sport has been heating up over the last few weeks, and we look forward to the early announcement of what's ahead in March through September with the ICC international commitment.
And two things I want to say. Mr. Paul Ross is still on board as the second vice president, and we also are waiting on ICC to let us know what the schedule is going to be for the T20 World Cup qualifiers. We don't know. We'll hope to find out between January 31st, February the 7th. But we do know that we are scheduled to play during the cup match time, Bermuda.
Yes.
That's out of our hands. We have asked for them for the third time to see if they can amend the schedule. We will let everyone know as soon as possible. But at the moment, the Bermuda Cricket Board has been scheduled to play in Uganda from July the 29th to August the 8th.
Yes.
Yes.
8th or 9th.
8th or 9th.
Yeah.
But we are trying our best, Bermuda. We're trying our best for cup match.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to have members of FC Bascom Bermuda in studio. We'll be right back after these messages.
Radio. With Ian Rollins and Earl Maysden.
And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. Joining us in the studio right now is two distinguished gentlemen that love football, Mr. Richard Calder and Mr. Andrew Bascom. Battle known right now is FC Bascom Bermuda. Good afternoon, gentlemen. How you guys doing?
I'm well. Yourself?
I'm fine. I'm fine. You guys have been in football all your lives. You're always giving something back to the community, and you're doing it yet again. explain to us, who I want to start first, regarding what's this program going to entail for 2020 in the USL Division 2.
What's it going to entail? Okay, so first of all, thank you for having us on the show.
Not a problem.
It's the first time for me, actually.
Okay.
Surprisingly, but it is the first time. That's not a knock on it.
No.
Well, listen, first of all, I think we should start by mentioning the fact that the USL for us has been something that's been on our radar since 2007. In 2007, when the Hogs submitted a bid and won it, clearly the better bid, I was with a group that included Clyde Best, my brother Robert, Andrew would have been the coach, Donald Smith, and a few others. It was called Investment Bermuda. Our focus then was specific to the USL Super Wide League. And I'll be honest with you, we actually thought it was the best bid, but as they pointed out to us, really quite honestly, they were really more focused on the PDL team, which is Division 2, and then hoping that team would also bring along youth teams. So that was the first foray into this. Secondly, we, being Clyde Best, again, Robert and myself, bought a 33% stake in the Reading Rage. Well, they won the league a couple of years ago. And that was primarily, again, for youth. Our only request from them was, well, first of all, let us see the monthly statements. But beyond that, is to get young Bermudian players in their youth teams. So, on average, we sent 4 or 5 kids every summer for 5 to 6 weeks, and they got to play 7 games. Andrew's son would have been the beneficiary of one of those, as well as Mikhail Krockwell and Shante Campbell. And then this. So I'll let Andrew talk a bit about this, but we were kicking this around as I guess as early as March, April of last year. And really the focus then was, again, still just youth and under 17. What we found was that a lot of the teams, the MLS Academy teams and the Super Wide League teams, while they were interested in playing us, the logistics of it wasn't working. And then we thought, you know what, there's probably a bigger opportunity, and the bigger opportunity is the USL too. And it's still youth, because we look at youth, and we look at the definition used by the UN. And youth for the UN is 15 to 24. I think, and Andrew can speak to this a great deal more, we get a little concerned that we become a bit of a throwaway country when it comes to kids over 17 that haven't made it. And what this is created to target is that 17 to 23-year-old kid that is still looking possibly for a college scholarship, because many of the coaches in the USL too are college coaches. And also those kids that are good enough, I'm not saying that the other kids wouldn't be, but are looking for an MLS pro contract, because as you probably know and you've read, that's where the MLS goes to the most.
They're in the shop window for that.
That's their academy.
So I think I've answered your question. I'm not sure.
Yes, you did. No, go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, firstly, good afternoon. Thanks for having us here. And I just show great appreciation for the work Richard and his team has done to bring this opportunity to Bermuda. As you can see, the purpose and the objective is to target that specific age group. Because, you know, you have kids that were not quite on the fringe of making the national team or even their senior club team. Then sometimes they get forgotten. So we want to make sure that we can captivate them, because it's necessary for the overall development of the game itself. We have to make sure we're filling the voids with the senior teams with good kids coming from those divisions. You know, so this opportunity is great for us. Now that is a reality. My focus, of course, is shifting now to good coaching staff, a committed, knowledgeable coaching staff, and player selection, team selection. I think that's going to be vital. That we make sure that we turn over every stone that's out there, and especially every kid that's a Bermudian, that this is an opportunity for all of them, no matter where they reside in the world.
I hear you guys, and one of the things that you're concerned and you're filling a void, but that void's for a handful of months. How do we then make sure that when the season's over, that we keep those guys engaged, the ones that could possibly, the ones that you're talking about, that you're relating to, because they'll go back and be forgotten about again, and how do we keep regenerating that?
I think with my meetings with the Mark Wade and the BFA, that was one of my concerns. And I guess what every club can do is use it as a part of the pyramid of development for young players, and they use it as an incentive, you know, for the young players in that age group that they get that opportunity. And that's something that I've been meeting with the BFA for, because that's where I will be using it in our program, because Bascom FC is more of an independent body that's in use just during the summer years. It's a relationship we would like to have with local clubs if they could sit it in their pyramid of player development and encourage the players to participate in the under-23 division and give them real incentive. And not just the player, but we have a lot of B-licensed coaches as well. But then a lot has to go into scouting of those players to show that we're interested, so every game they know that people are watching. And if they have the right behavior, the right commitment, the right desire, because they have to have a drive. Intrinsic motivation is so important to a coach, because if not, you're the only one driving, but the player has to come with some drive. And hopefully that each club can use this as a vehicle to help the player to get to where he has to be in life. You know, whether it's a school experience or through football, but a career can come out the other side of this. So it's not something I put at the top of my pyramid, but it doesn't fall too far from the top.
If I can add to that, and one of the things that we talked about on the way here was the fact that in the first day that our website went live, we had 10 inquiries from foreign players. We've had over 52 inquiries from 4 coaches, 48 players.
Since the launch of your website?
Since the launch, from not because FC Bascom, they don't know FC Bascom other than a new entrant into USL 2, but because of the opportunity to play in the USL, and they stated very clearly, to be seen by MLS coaches. We can never lose sight of the fact that this is an amazing opportunity for kids to go pro.
And that's going to be my next question to you. You answered it, but I'm going to put it back on the players themselves, the youth players. Do they understand how important this opportunity is for them at the age of 15 as opposed to 30 years ago?
Well, that's the importance of us as adults and coaches and administrations to show them the importance of the opportunities that come along. Like we have to teach them the importance of education, because at a young age they don't quite know. But it's us to teach the importance by creating the environment that helps guide them. You know, we got them through structure. But that responsibility falls on us because they're young.
That's true.
The one question I wanted to ask, and I want to ask Mr. Codron, had this been around, how long ago were you there?
That's not a question.
We'll leave the time frame alone. But imagine if these opportunities were available during that time. Do you feel, or would you agree that our community would be that much further advanced because more people will have an opportunity to try and strive to go further?
I think you answered the question. Absolutely. I 100% believe that is the case. And that's the reason why, even today, it's so important. And Ian, you remember, you were with the BFA at the time when I was the president. We recognized some of the struggles that the Hogs were having financially. There's no secret about that. No fault of theirs. And we thought enough of this program that we financed it. We provided them with financing to a pretty large degree because we believed in it then, and we still believe in it. We do believe this is it's a huge opportunity for kids to be placed in the shop window. It's huge. And like Andrew said, it's also the incentive for the 15-year-old kids to stay engaged. Because if they are looking for tangible evidence, this is it.
This is it. Gents, we're going to take a commercial break and we're going to go to news. When we come back, we'll go to news. So we're going to go to news. We'll be back in about 5 minutes and we can finish this conversation thereafter.
Okay.
Inside Sports Talk Radio with Ian Rollins and Earl Maysden.
And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. Again, Richard Colton and Mr. Andrew Bascom, both fine gentlemen there, sitting here with us, sharing their aspirations on FC Bascom Bermuda, taking off this year in 2020. One thing that we did discuss off air, gentlemen, was the opportunities for, yes, the young people, and yes, they're going to understand how important it is. But as parents, do they really understand it? Because there's always talk in our sports across the board, not just football, cricket, track and field, whatever sport it is, saying there's no opportunity, always waiting for the national program. You guys are taking it amongst yourselves and giving something back to the community and sharing this. This is a great opportunity, and I hope the people understand it. Do you think our local people understand the importance of what you guys are giving back to us?
I guess I'm up. I think so. Okay. I think so. I think obviously only time will tell, but actually it's also our job to actually convey that message. We've been in front of youth football players and their parents for a long time, and I think those that have benefited directly from our programs, because we see this as a progression. It's not circular. No. Everything we have done, we think it's built on each other, and so we've touched a lot of parents. And I think those that have worked with us over the past trust us, understand what we've done. We deliver it in many cases, if not all cases, for the parents and for the kids. So this is no different. Right. I'd like to think that they believe that what we're offering is only going to be beneficial to their children.
Right, right. Andrew, as a coach, what is the significant thing you're looking for say, the first 2 years of this program? Is it about winning, or is it about molding young people into understanding that there's more to life?
Yeah, it's about, for me, creating a winner way, through commitment, dedication, and focus. And to me, those are the seeds you plan to be successful, both in football and in life. And if we could teach them that the journey is just as important as the victory, and then I think they will get the message, because like we discussed earlier, no one's getting paid, or Richard has mentioned. Payment for me and our team is seeing the young player taking advantage of the opportunity and making something of his life.
So that's volunteer. You guys are volunteering your time, basically.
Yeah.
That's important. People have to listen to that.
Every minute. I think I mentioned offline. Yeah. The only people getting paid in this situation is some professional folks like our advertising agency. We need that expertise, obviously. Website developers, and a couple of assistant coaches, and that's a small stipend.
Small stipend, but the administrators, guys, behind the scenes, it all happen. It's volunteer.
It's all volunteer.
Wow,
it's all volunteer.
Hey, that's important.
It's important. I'll tell you why it's important to me, and I'm sure it's the same. I finished high school on a financial aid scholarship. I went to university on a full ride. I know what it's done for my life, and that's never left me. I know the importance of what being a student athlete can do, and we also see this as, again, a vehicle for a kid to be in college, but for those kids that have gone off to college, an opportunity for them to be a pro. If you think about some of the players that we've had and have gone up the entire ladder, in other words, went to high school here, went off to a U.S. boarding school, went to a top university, Dartmouth, got picked by MLS team, or is playing in England. That's the kind of thing you really want to present in front of a young kid. You can be both.
Right.
You can still aspire to be a great football player and never sacrifice the work in the classroom.
That's so true.
Because really, at the end of the day, if you don't make it as professional and you've got a degree, then you have a life. And so education, merit with football for us has been so much a part of our lives.
And then with me, I'm grateful to be making a living of football as it is anyway. So I could just reflect on the players that were an inspiration to me that made just as much or even a greater contribution to the sport and received nothing financially. So whatever opportunity I can get to give back with what any had it cost, those were the examples that were before me, so I will continue to do it.
Okay. For the season starting this year, who's going to be the new coach? Is it going to be you, Andrew, or?
There's only one choice.
I guess I would take that.
Put it out there.
He wears a few hats.
A few hats, just a few.
But I mean, and like we discussed, of course, the first opportunity will be mine to make sure we can secure some type of consistency. But I would like for any coach out there to know the opportunity is also theirs. because I would like to be able to move on to a different position and be in a mentor capacity. And another coach can use the experience to and gain from it so they can grow. You know.
Good point.
Because real quickly, and I'm sure it's been mentioned or it's implied, but this is not for one team. This is across the board.
Yeah,
it's for every team from some to St. George's, their players. And that is an important thing to do.
Right. Another significant part to piggyback on that, how do we make sure that the emphasis is on the player to develop? Because a lot of people in Bermuda will look at the result, and if it's not a good result, then it's, you know how we get, it's a waste of time. They don't know what they're doing. But how do we educate the public, or how do you guys plan to educate the public to ensure that it's the proper message out there, that if there's people that don't want to listen, then fine, it's on them, but at least it's out there.
Well, then, for me as a coach, you have to speak through your team. Your team has to show the progressiveness, togetherness, the understanding of their roles and responsibility, and win over the customer through that, the fan, because the fan has a right to agree or not agree, because they are the paying customers. But we have to make sure that we create a winning way and a winning behavior, and they will lead to good results, in my opinion. And what the focus has to say on what's my role, what's my responsibility, and every game carry out that with commitment. And I'm a Bermudian. I can appreciate that, and I'm willing to pay for that because progress will come. But I'm not prepared to pay for the lack of effort and the inconsistency and the bad behavior. So.
And as an addendum to that, we see success beyond just victories.
Right.
As you mentioned, we see success at the end of the year if one of our kids gets picked up by an MLS team or USL 1 team. If one of our kids gets picked up by a college, that's success.
That's huge.
And that's real success for us. So again, it gets back to what I said earlier. We always marry education with football. So if it's a scholarship opportunity that's gained from this experience, that's
rewarding, that's
in many cases that's hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Saved.
Right? You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And all that, and I don't want this point to go hidden or missing. I want to win.
Well, if you know,
that's you by nature.
Because I'm a coach, and ultimately you have to.
And you demand that from the players selected.
Of course, I'm sure every player wants to win.
Right.
But it's what's the route to success? How do you go about gaining success? And it's something that you inherit is over a period of time of your commitment over years, and the success will come. But you have to plant the seeds for success.
And no question, we want to entertain as well.
Right.
Since you mentioned entertainment, as for the season itself, when is the season going to kick off, and when is the home games, away games?
Schedule's out.
The schedule's up?
The schedule's up on our website at www.fcbasketballbermuda.com. But the first game, to answer your question, is May 9th.
Okay.
It's at home. It's against the Philadelphia Lone Star, who I was talking to Andrew about. I met the guy, the senior person of the organization, at the USL Winter Summit in December. And he showed me pictures of his starting team, and I think they're all from Africa. Now, I'm hoping that they're just really good students. But my guess is they're a heck of a team.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, make no mistake. This is a tough league.
Yeah.
Go back and look at
It's
the
an
Hawks
avenue
results.
to get to the next stage.
But it's competition. You don't get better by playing lesser competition.
Right.
Playing 14 competitive games will improve every kid that plays for FC Basketball Bermuda. No question about it.
So true.
And I can also piggyback on that as far as my experience with the national team has prepared me for this.
Right.
Up against tough opposition, having confidence in myself and my ability to coach and put my knowledge up against the opposition. I can remember when we went to Guatemala to play, and you get there, such a small nation, and people say, "Oh, you're playing against a nation that has 16 million and 17 million." And I thought to myself, well, I only have to play against 11.
11 at a time.
So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
So it's no matter how large or small you are, if you're organized and you have the same concept and you march in the same direction, we will be successful.
Right.
What did you guys learn about the Hawks that you can use to ensure that you grow with this, as opposed to what troubles they had?
Well, their troubles, I think it's pretty well documented. It was financial.
Right.
And it was a lack of fan base. And I'm not sure how they went about trying to secure their fan base, but we are working very hard to secure a fan base, because without that, we're not going to survive. And really, yes, we're obviously talking to sponsors, and the sponsors' responses have been decent and good and great in some cases, and it's still time. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you mentioned parents and you mentioned Bermuda Public. They really want to see this thing succeed. And they show up at the turnstiles.
Right.
And the question that's been asked to us when we know about the ticket prices, it's always a juggling act, as you know, it's a balancing act between the cost of the tickets versus the cost of producing
the event,
the 7 games and 7. We're traveling 7 times. Right. By far, the biggest expense that we will experience is travel.
Right.
Our air travel represents over 35% of our cost. One of the challenges that the Hogs had, and we face it as well. To be in this league, we had to do a few things that the other teams didn't have to do. Right. The other teams can drive down the highway 25 minutes. They have to get on a plane to come to Bermuda. And that means a cost. And it's coming out of Philadelphia with one airline. So you kind of understand what we're up against. We have to pay for those tickets.
Right.
Wow.
Hogs have to do this as well.
Right.
He's wearing both hats as well in this situation. Going out, we instead of 6 individual flights, it's 3. So it's a couple. I'm not going to tell you. You'll see the schedule. We're playing multiple games over 8 days.
Right.
But the cost to us, the cost savings, is in the region of $30,000.
Right.
So again, not ideal. Not ideal. You like to play every 5 days, 6 days.
Right.
But if you weigh the cost, then again we put it in front of the owner / co-founder and coach, and let him make that decision. And it wasn't that difficult, was it?
But that's why player selection is going to be so important.
Absolutely.
Right. What numbers are you looking at as far as the amount of players you're allowed?
We're allowed 29, right?
We can carry 29 in the squad.
Oh, okay.
We have 18 in any regular.
Right.
And we can use 7 substitutes.
Oh, okay.
We use the entire bench.
All right.
The player goes off, he can't come back on.
Right.
But using the entire bench is, well, I'll let Andrew speak to that. I know if I'm the coach, it's a major plus.
Yes.
Then if you're coming from an environment where you're using 3 subs,
Yeah,
exactly.
to have 7, it gives you a lot more variation.
And it also is encouraging for those players who start on the bench to say, I still have an opportunity.
I'm going to be seen.
And
Right.
they're going
I am going to be
That's
seen.
important.
That is a critical piece.
Yeah.
So you picked up on that. And that is a critical piece.
Yeah.
I'm going to be seen. I'm not going to be a part of the squad and never get on the field.
Watch the third guy go on, and that's it
And
for me.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the shoulders drop, and if it happens the next game, then I'm starting to worry, why am I part of this, and hoping that somebody gets injured, because that's not what you really
But
want.
there's other things that go through mind.
Yeah.
So you can get the opportunity.
Right. Right.
My question is, you answered a bit of it earlier. This is the BFA.
Okay.
What sort of support they giving you guys behind something of this magnitude?
Oh, they were very, very receptive, very supportive. I mean, seriously, I'm not saying it with a smile on my face. I'm saying it with a smile on my face because I'm serious.
Right.
And I'm happy about the fact that they get it. They understand that the domestic league, the players could benefit from a stronger level of competition. And, almost to a person that has experienced the Hogs, they recognize. And you've read some of the comments coming from the Kyles of this world and some of those coaches that were involved with the Hogs, that it helped to create the level of football they have in the national team right now. There's no question about it.
Right.
There's no question about it.
Right.
This can only benefit the national program.
Any final comments, Jim?
I'll be on the corner of Church and Front Street. Church and Front Street. Obviously, I'm joking. The sandwich board's taking money.
But you know what?
No, I'm serious.
But you know what? But that doesn't stop someone who actually wants to help when they see you and giving you just that.
Yes.
Because every little bit helps. And it could be somebody that says, you know what? I've got $5. I might not be able to come to the game, but here's $5 to help. Because it might help somebody else.
Yeah, because it's an investment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So don't think making that standing on the sideline as a joke, because somebody out there listening could possibly actually hand you that.
All right.
I live at home.
Before you go, my last one, Richard may have to answer. This is streaming. Is your games going to be streamed?
They are. We're actually working with 1 or 2 videographers right now.
Okay.
But yeah, they'll be streamed, and USL actually will provide their platform for that as well. We will stream the games.
Cool. Any final comments, Mr. Boston?
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah.
Hey, it's our pleasure.
I can't believe it's taking this long for me to get here.
Hi, yeah, part of your coaching staff. I'm busy, but quid pro quo.
That's a good one. You guys are welcome back anytime.
I appreciate
Anytime.
that. Thank
All
you.
right? I'll sit down and talk to your marketing people.
Excellent.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Cool.
Thank
All right.
you.
Take care. We'll take a commercial break and be back after this.
With Ian Rollins and Merle Maisden.
And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio on this Monday, January 27th, the last Monday of the month, the last Monday in January of 2020. Joining us in studio is the national coach for swimming, Ben Smith. Ben, we've heard a lot about Carifta Track and Field, but there's also the Carifta Swimming Championships, which will take place over the same Easter holiday weekend. and we have several youngsters who have qualified, have met the qualifying standard for that. Just want to make sure that we give everyone that opportunity to talk about that, because it's a big thing. We've seen some remarkable performances over that period of time in swimming. So you had another qualifier on Saturday. Unfortunately, no one met the standard. No one new met the standard. But how many have qualified thereabouts thus far?
So at the moment we have about 20 swimmers that have reached the qualifying standard, and so the qualifying period ended on Saturday. That was the last opportunity for them to qualify, and now it's, I've spent the whole morning compiling all the times that have happened in the qualification period. Still waiting for some times that are going to come in from some of our athletes that are overseas. And then I have to turn that into a ranking system, because when you deal with Carifta swimming, only 2 swimmers per event can enter
from each nation.
From each nation. This year, after some lobbying that went on from Bermuda, they will be allowing 3 swimmers to enter the 50-meter event. So this is the test to see what effect that's going to have. I actually was trying to have it in all the events, but step by step. So first step, we are now going to have the ability to enter 3 swimmers per event, which will be helpful, because when you have a lot of swimmers hitting the qualifying time, and you have the expense of traveling that amount of distance, right? We want to give them the best opportunity to swim their main events. And what has happened in the past, a lot of times, 2 people are going to get that event, and maybe that 3rd and 4th swimmer were a tenth of a second out. They don't get an opportunity to swim it. In some cases, they were swimming an event that's not their best event, and in some cases, they weren't getting an opportunity to swim at all. They weren't traveling with the team. So hopefully this is going to give more people an opportunity to race. Yeah.
Now, having that opportunity to have that 3rd person, there's always that open door that you could have 3 Bermudians on the podium.
No, so it doesn't. The ruling that I actually put forward was specific. So it allowed for 3 people from one nation to enter into the competition, but only 2 can go through to the final. So what, in my opinion, what you're going to get is faster heats, because now everybody, even if there's 3 people from Bermuda or 3 people from Bahamas, everyone's jockeying for that position to get into that finals. Where a lot of times in the past, you would have a pretty good idea who was going to make it through. Potentially now we're adding some.
So actually, it kind of encourages competition amongst countries themselves, because I've now got to beat your time in order to make sure that I'm one of the 3 into the final.
Most definitely. So that was the statement that I made when I was lobbying for this new change, that it wasn't as simple as just trying to give more opportunities. I believe it's going to actually make the competition better. When you have multiple swimmers with the opportunity in the morning to try to qualify for the finals, and you never know, there could be number 3 from each of these countries that steps up. They have that opportunity, the excitement of being at Carifta Games, and now they swim a time that they wouldn't have had an opportunity to swim. Now they get a shot in the finals. Right.
When you're looking at when you're setting up times for do you set the standards for Bermuda, or are they done globally around Carifta?
No, so we actually set our own standards. We use a set of standards that comes from the U.S. system. They've created a system that goes by percentages of their the people that reach their national championships in age group. So it goes with B time, double B time, A time, and the standard that we will be looking at for our 13, 14, 15, 17 is the AAA standard. And in our 11 and 12, because it's developmental, we actually allow them to qualify with the AA standard. Right. So that's their first step into competition and giving them that opportunity to see what it's all about. So far, that's worked really well for us. It allows them to gauge themselves not just in our region, but we also know that standard stands up because the U.S. is obviously the gold standard when it comes to swimming.
One thing I've noticed over the past few years is that we've increased our medal count. We've increased our records in the region. Have you had your door knocked on by other coaches around the region asking, what are you guys doing that's made this significant progress in swimming in Bermuda?
Most definitely. I mean, when you look the first time that Bermuda went to Carifta swimming, we had one person make a final. And last year we came second. Mm-hmm. So when you see the progress that we've made, you know, I've had coaches reach out, ask me if we can help on what we're doing, things that are working. I've also been contacted about potentially doing some coaching clinics within the region, and also working to actually create a program within the coaches in our region. Because one of the things that's important is, yes, within our age group region, we're doing well. And I would say that Carifta Swimming Championships for our region is a really great competition. But it's going from there into that next level, competing against the US and Canada and the European, the Asian countries, that we have to figure out how to make that next leap.
Right.
So regionally, we have to figure that out. So that's why, to me, making some adjustments to the competition, making some adjustments that force our kids to get faster in the morning, all those things are going to help us to reach our end goal, which is to get into, you know, semifinals and finals at the major championships.
When you look at time set for even the four major festivals, and then we get word that somebody has been doping, and not just I'm talking across the board in sports. Do you think sometimes that the organizations have to be realistic in setting qualifying times? Because if they're going by, say, the top 6 people in a final from the year before, and then 4 years later you find out all 6 were doping, in reality, can someone make that time doing it naturally?
Yeah, so the difficulty in FINA actually has you know, a 2-tiered system which allows for some of that development. So they're going to have an A qualifying time and a B qualifying time. The issue is, as you're developing, you know, age group into senior swimmers, you are going to run into those issues where you're obviously going against bigger nations that have a lot more resources that allow them to develop their athletes at another level. We've been lucky to have some of our athletes have opportunities overseas to be able to develop to that next level. But even within there, you've reached that peak, and then potentially cheating goes on top of it. Right. So I always say that somebody who wins the gold medal potentially is the person that everybody talks about if that person gets caught cheating. So now the person that got the silver medal moves on to get the gold medal, but we never talk about the fact that 16th place, 17th place should have moved up. Right? So now that small nation that really just missed it by 100th of a second because somebody above them was cheating, maybe leaves the sport. Maybe, you know, they don't get funding from their government. Right? Those are the pieces that we never really figure out what that impact could be. And you know, we have athletes that retire because potentially the people ahead of them are using advantages that they shouldn't.
I mean, it's a case in point because we now look at the results of the 2012 Olympics in both long jump, male and female, and both Arantxa King and Tyrone Smith move up because they caught so many people in that, and it kind of robs them of an opportunity to actually stay in the sport because, you know, like you say, the opportunity of funding, the opportunities that open the doors if you get to the final, but you know, all that's lost.
And the real shame is that the people at the top are making these doping choices and making a lot of money at the top. The group that we're talking about are having a hard time just getting funding to survive. So when you are having to compete against people that are doing it for a completely different reason, and you're competing against people that are cheating, now you're making a decision whether I'm going to quit the sport to go get a job. And that's the reality of what we're dealing with. But, you know, I mean, until we figure out a way to level the playing field, and I'm not sure they have an answer to that right now.
If you had to pick 2 athletes, who do you think will be your standouts for this year at Carifta?
So, obviously, the first name that's going to come out is Elan Daly. What she has been able to achieve I would say from January last year was impressive. Seeing what she was able to do at World Championships in the summer as a 14-year-old, first time at a World Championship, seeing how she handled that level of competition, but then to have her go back to work, go back to the lab and train and put in the work, and now absolutely destroy every record that we have, and get faster and faster and faster. I think that if all preparation goes well, we should see something that maybe we've never seen before. Other than that, we have a well-rounded team. We have a lot of swimmers that have experience, that have medaled at multiple Cariftas. So I don't want to pick one. I'm hopeful that what we're looking for is a well-rounded result that's going to have us in the top 5 like we were last year. That's the goal.
What are the chances of improving? Is there any one spot you could improve on? Well, what is the possibility of? Is that sheer numbers?
Yeah, sheer numbers. So our main issue right now, and the reason that we weren't able to move up last year, is a numbers game. So when you're competing against bigger teams, they have the ability to have a relay in every age group in every category. We don't have that. So last year we moved up the standings because we had quite a few relays. Well, as an example, in the 11 and 12 age group, we haven't kind of reached the same number of qualifiers. A lot of those 11 and 12 year olds aged up to 13, 14. So now we're not going to have those relays, and relays are double points. So that's the big deal that's going to move you up the medal standing.
All right. Yeah.
I'm fine.
All right. Well, then when will we finalize the 2020 Carifta Swimming Championship team?
So once the rankings are completed, then we kind of see where everybody fits into events. Obviously, because of the restriction, we still are going to have to decide whether
eliminate a few people.
We're hopeful that we don't have to eliminate anybody. I mean, that's the goal, is to be able to take the entire team and allow everybody to get the experience. And then that will be presented to our overseas technical committee, and they'll make the decision. And once that happens, we'll have the opportunity to announce the team and start the training and preparation.
Okay. How difficult is it to train the 4 disciplines? It's 4 disciplines, right? Yeah.
Well, really, most practices are going to touch all the strokes, right? So some swimmers are going, as you age up, you're going to focus on more one event compared to other events, but definitely in the younger age groups, we're going to train them to do every stroke, because you never know what they're going to do. And what I really like for them to strive for is to be able to do every stroke and do every distance, because the main end goal is to be able to get a university scholarship, right? And what you want is for a coach to say, this person can help my team in multiple ways. That's somebody you're going to give a scholarship to, as opposed to a one-trick pony. And really, I think that the more that Bermuda Sports focuses on getting scholarships and getting opportunities for our athletes to get overseas, we're a small country. Yes, everyone would love to get to the Olympic podium, but a degree is actually worth a lot more.
That's true. Goes a long ways. It's for life.
Yes.
There you go. It's for life, man. Keep up the good work, Ben.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate you. We'll be in touch shortly to find out more about Carifta Swimming Championships.
Thank you.
All right. And we'll be back with more Inside Sports Talk after this message from our sponsors.
good news. What's interesting, and we know full well, once you start getting into fitness, as we know, nutrition is important. People don't like to really stack their food for the week. They say it's time consuming, and this is an opportunity for those who don't want to prep their food like on a Saturday or Sunday for the week. This is something that's nutritious, affordable, price is right, and the location is correct. And this is something that you can choose from. Do you know what type of meals you'll be serving on the first day? I'm just trying to get a little answer on that part there.
Is do a week one menu. So what we're going to do is have about 3 different meals available on week 1. So as of February 3rd, we'll say that's week 1. We'll have, and I'll just call out a couple of the meal options that we have, just to kind of give people an idea of what what type of food we're talking about. So, like garlic, blackened shrimp, roasted sweet potatoes, garlic green beans, lemon zest chicken. So just a nice blend of herbs and spices, flavorful food, not made with necessary sauces, but more like just like herbs and spices. And when you say lunch, so what we're going to do is do meal 1 would be a protein. So let's say it's a fish option or a salmon option, and that'll have some veggies. The other option would be protein, a carb, and a veg. So you have the option with carbs or without, and then again maybe add on desserts and breakfast food, but definitely stick to more the lunch or dinner menu.
And when you say lunchtime, is it going to be serving between like 11 and 1, or is it like from 12 to 2?
So the meals will be available all day. So what we're going to say is that, like most outlets in Bermuda, if you don't get in, you might lose. So there'll be a selected amount availables. So if Bermuda Eats has, for example, 30 meals, and we sell out at 1, and Ian comes at 1:30, he may have missed the meal. So we're gonna have so much available, and then let demand dictate how much to have. So again, in the early weeks, we're gonna have a selected amount, and then add on as demand increases. So if we start noticing that, we're selling out in the first hour or the first 2 hours, then of course we can add more on.
And that's good. Have you had the opportunity, or excuse me, I know you have had the opportunity, let me take that back. What's the response been like when you've talked to your clients, meaning the clients who are training with you personally, and even your group classes, that this is going to be an opportunity, an affordable one regarding nutrition?
It's been great. As a matter of fact, we did a soft launch just before Christmas. I think we had spoke about it on the air. Just gave it some free meals, and just wanted to see what the interest was and what people were saying. And it's been a bit overwhelming, to be honest. It's been very humbling, and I don't think it's necessarily myself. It's actually just been people are looking for this. People are looking for an option, right? So interesting enough, you mentioned people don't want to prep, or they may not want to prep. What you want to do is provide another opportunity. So person A currently gets their meals from this vendor, and they're happy with that. Person C preps theirs. You want to give people as much opportunity to get options. I see marketplaces doing it. I see supermarkets are actually miles. Most of the restaurants are offering other alternatives on their menu. So it's just another opportunity, right? It's just another option for you to have. If, for example, you pack your food 3 or 4 days out of the weekend, you didn't prep this one day, it's just one more option. So the more options that we all can provide other vendors as well, then I think it benefits the community at large,
Good stuff.
Dave, how much thought have you put into this personally? I know it's one of the things that's been driving you and teaming up with Bermuda, but how much thought have you put into these meals that will reflect in not only what you do, but ultimately get people to understand healthy eating?
I mean, I would say I've given a lot of thought. The last 2 years, I've been looking at this in particular, that if this was to be done, how could it be done? I started doing some strategic planning, like what type of things have to go in place to make it successful. What will make it a failure? What does it have to look like? So the meals have to be tasty. They got to be made healthy. They got to be in decent containers. They got to be accessible. It's got to be sustainable. People need to have access to it. And then for me, in terms of the actual meals, I spend a lot of time working on them with a nutritionist to get the right flavors, meals that I have used in the past. And because, one of the arguments that people would say, and I've even said that, I don't do anything that is not good for me. I don't eat food that doesn't appeal to my palate. I just can't. I just can't eat something that's bland and boring. So finding something that is healthy and tasty, delicious, but it still meets my criteria. It's not always easy, but that was a big part as well. People might do something. People who go on, for example, and this is not to be unkind of someone who's doing it, but an all green shake diet. You might do it for a week. You might do it for 2 weeks. I would dare say most people do not spend the rest of their life, just drinking shakes or just eating one particular food group. I find that you need to have a decent balance, a decent palate, something that's going to appeal to your taste buds. And even if, for example, a client asks me for a meal plan, I usually say, well, what do you like to eat? I'm not going to give you something that Dave Wolf likes if you don't like it. What do you like to eat? Let's work backwards from what you're currently eating and see if we can maybe add or take away from what you currently like. I think it's important to have, and even to defer when you're doing something, I just think you need to have some endorphins and some feel good about it. Something makes you feel good about it, something you like. So that's very important to me. I spend a lot of time thinking about that particular aspect, to be honest.
Cool. As for Fitness Dave, we are now moved into January 27, 2020. The month is almost completed for the first year. How is fitness going for someone who's on track to start 2020?
I think it's going well. I've seen, not just for myself, but for others, a lot of other trainers and gyms, people seem to really be, doing their thing. I'm on the road early. I see people walking, I see people running and cycling, and I see classes going on, spinning, and I'm happy. It's been very encouraging. As somebody who spent a large portion of his adult life, doing this, and fitness is important to me. I'm loving what I'm seeing. I'm loving, even places where I visit, like I said, in terms of health stores or foods, restaurants, and I've seen the menus change. I've seen the options available. I've seen people who are recognizing, hey, that we're trying to make these steps, and all we're looking at doing is just trying to provide alternatives, right? And it's not just the indulgence. I always say it's the overindulgence. So I'm encouraged by what I see with the movement, with the eating, and with the healthy options that are available right now. I really am.
Cool. Thank you very much, Dave. Is there anything you'd like to add that I did not ask or Earl ask?
I think you guys do a good job as usual. I'm always tuning in. You guys do an excellent job. Thanks for having me. And I look forward to updating you guys more about, Fit for Life and Stay Ready meals and just, everything that's going on this year. Some other stuff that's happening as well. I look forward to talking to you about it.
Sure. And again, all the best in your launch next week on Fit for Life with Dave Wolf as you launch the new meal nutrition plan for Bermuda. Please tell us all about it.
And I will be back to talk about it.
All right. Not a problem. Take care. We will take a commercial break and be back after this.
Turn to Inside Sports Talk Radio. Inside Sports Talk Radio. With Ian Rollins and Earl Maysden.
And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. Just want to thank our guests for joining us today on another edition of Inside Sports Talk Radio. But before we go, we just wanted to send our condolences on behalf of the Broadcast Company to James Torbett, TNT Video Productions, LJ, his son, and his wife, Linda Torbett. As you know, James Torbett was a former employee here at Bermuda Broadcast Company. He started back, I believe, in 1976. He was in production. He was a great producer, executive producer. He was a great director, cameraman. He had it all. He had all the talents. He came under with Jonathan Rogers, Reese Frubbit, gentlemen like that. Jello Wilson was here.
I was up there.
That's right. Don Bassett was here. I think Wayne Lottymore was here. Sinclair Rayner, Darlene Ming. Rick Richardson. I can go on and on and on, right?
Big list.
Big list. And Wayne Astwood, you know, Snappy Astwood.
Yeah.
And I was a little peon when they came on, right? I came here.
When did you stop?
As a summer student, I think it was 1982.
82.
I was 17 years old, riding my Peugeot 103.
Mercy.
Yeah.
I was down by the sea when I was at that big.
Well, no, you guys.
I was good Bermuda.
Wait, hang on. Did you guys merge now?
We merged.
No, it's after.
Right, just after that, yeah.
After,
Came
that's
up
right.
the hill.
So yes, I was here. You was at down by the sea, but then you guys came after that. But James Torbett was a talented young man. He had a vision, and he loved sports. He helped produce the Sports Perspective. Rick Richardson is the host, and himself, meaning himself as in James Torbett and Reese and Jonathan Rogers, and this guy's worked behind the scenes to make it all happen. As you know, we all rushed to us our TV set back then, and it's 6:40, 20 minutes too.
Yeah.
That's a weird time there. Not the bottom of the hour, top of the hour. I think it came on at 6:40. It was 20 minutes or 25 minutes of Bermuda's best sports, and those guys just go over to film things those days as opposed to digital now, right?
Yep.
But he did a lot, and as you know, he went on and created his own company.
Yeah.
And
he gave a lot of people opportunities.
Oh, he surely did.
To show their talent.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of people that behind the scenes, as you said, but there's also those people that got the chance to be in front of the camera, where maybe wouldn't have had an opportunity somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, so he managed to touch a lot of people, and he will be sorely missed for his vision. And you know, his perseverance in just helping to improve Bermuda's way of finding out information.
He loved the videography. He was it this January, so it was in November. He had apparently given some video to Jonathan Rogers, featuring Gina Swankson, Miss World. And you're like, whoa, where did these video footage come from? James. You know, black and white, and there was photos of Darlene Ming, Jonathan Rogers, Reese Frubbit, and James Torbett all on Front Street. When they had a big celebration for you know that special occasion. It was truly amazing. And you're right, he was a man that gave everyone an opportunity, right? Delano Ingo worked with him as well, right? He was the engineer here then, and Elston Chapman and so forth, and Al Seymour Jr. And so it's a slew of names that just go on and on and on. But you know, credit to James, had a vision and he just wanted to share it. He loved videography. He put in the time, and now he's passed it on to his son. His son's a great director as a young man, and hey, he'll be sorely missed for sure. He'll definitely be sorely missed for sure.
That's true.
So on behalf of Bermuda Broadcast Company, we send our sincere condolences to the Torbett family, to James, LJ, and Linda. That's all the time we have now for Inside Sports Talk Radio. We'll be back next week Monday for another edition.